The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome back to Autism Live on a Wednesday morning, and we have guests and I'm so excited. I'm Shannon Penrod and I'm a proud pony. I am a parent of a neurodiverse individual, and we're going to do Jargon of the Day. We haven't done Jargon of the Day in a couple of weeks here, and we're excited to be back doing Jargon of the Day and excited to have guests. We are live right now. Today is Wednesday. What's the date? It's November 15th. How could I have forgotten? It's the smack middle of the month, and it's the Wednesday before the week of Thanksgiving, so 2023. So excited to be here with you guys. And you can see we've got a wonderful jargon term that we're going to be doing in just a few minutes here. Want to remind you of a couple of things. As I said, I'm a proud pony. That stands for a parent of a neurodiverse individual. Those are the words that my son and I have put together that make me feel great, make him feel great, and aptly describe who we are and what our relationship is. I'm a parent of a neurodiverse individual and very proud to be such. I am excited to be here with you on the Autism Network. This is we've already started our 14th year of programming for Autism Live. And our mission always was and always will to provide you with information and inspiration. That's really what we're here for. And that's for the larger autism community. And in that community, that starts, first of all, with individuals who are on the spectrum themselves. Of course, they're the beating heart of our community, right? There are my why, right? I want to be here to help my son and support my son, right? And I'm sure that for many of you, that is the case, or to support yourself, right? So those individuals are the beating heart of our community. But for our purposes, we include everyone who loves those individuals, whether that's a parent, whether that's a spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, a professional person in their life, whether that's a speech and language pathologist, an OT, a teacher, a behavior technician, all the people who love and care about individuals on the autism spectrum. They're a part of our community here on the show, and we want to provide all of you with information and inspiration because we believe that should be the entire world, that we have individuals who are on the spectrum and people who love and support people who are on the spectrum. If we can get that to being the entire world, well, then I can retire. Do you know what I mean? And other people can be here and share the information and inspiration. So clock is ticking, the hair is gray, I am old, let's go. All right, so that's who I am. That's why I'm here. When my son was diagnosed with autism, I didn't know where to go, who to turn to, and people helped me. And a lot of times it was other parents who said to me, get in this line, do this, don't do that, ask this, make sure you get this, right? And it helped us. And I remember saying to them, and that, by the way, the biggest help of all were Logan Shepard's parents and Crystal and Pete Shepard. And I remember saying to them, how am I ever going to repay you for having taken the time to help me with this? And their answer was, pay it forward. And every time I see them, I go, how am I doing? I'm trying to pay it forward. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. So if you have questions, we're live right now. You can be writing in your questions. We got a whole show, guests and jargon, but we'll take live questions right now. And if it's something that I can't help you with, I like to consult our experts. So our fabulous Chris Desmond is going to show you some of the different ways that you can be connecting with the show, some of the different ways that you can be watching or listening. We're live, as I said, right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And we try to do live shows right now. We're getting back into the swing of doing live shows Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And we hope that you will tune in then to watch us live if you can. But of course, we always podcast those shows. They're available in their full format with picture and sound on our YouTube channel. We have quite the library of videos there. Plus, we have ways to search topics on our YouTube channel. But if you're listening to us on podcast, and so many of you do, you're taking us with you, and we love and appreciate that, You can download our show wherever you get podcasts. It's a free download to you. Obviously, there is a cost to that. It doesn't happen for free. We have to subscribe to services that allow you to download it, and they charge us per download. So we have wonderful sponsors that sponsor the podcast. When you download the free podcast, you will be treated to some wonderful advertisements. And I hope that you look at it that way, because we can't exist without their sponsorship. Now, some of you have said, we don't look at it that way. We'd prefer to get it without that, and we'd rather contribute ourselves. So we heard you, and there is a way that you can get the podcast ad-free now. There is a very small monthly cost of $5, and if you do it across a year, it's even less. So you can go to glow.fm/autism-live. When you subscribe there, you will get, every time we do a podcast, you will get that in your inbox on Glow. They'll explain it to you. But not only will you get Autism Live, you get everything that we do on the Autism Network, including Ask Dr. Doreen. It's a pretty good deal, you guys. So, as I said, it's even cheaper if you do it across the year, because they do charge us every time they run your credit card. So if it's a monthly subscription, there's a cost for it every single month. We pass the savings on to you when they don't have to do that if it's once a year. We're not trying to... we're not trying to make money off of you. We're trying to just stay in business. You know what I'm saying? Bringing that information and that inspiration. So thrilled to have you all here with us. I do like to give a disclaimer when we have these types of shows that while I have been hosting this show and other shows now, I think I've been doing this for 16 years. Because I used to host the Everyday Autism Miracles radio show. I want to talk about that for just a second. But I'm not an expert in autism, right? I'm a student in the front seat, and I love learning about autism as it relates to me, my world, my son, to your world. I'm interested. It's a fascinating thing, and I find the more that I learn about it, the more I want to learn about it. And I'm humbled sometimes the things that I can learn from individuals who are on the spectrum. So very, very excited to be a part of the conversation. And I like to say, since I've been interviewing experts for 16 years, I have learned a thing or two, but I'm still not an expert in autism. That's why we have experts and individuals who are themselves on the spectrum to speak for themselves on the show. But I do care deeply about the things that you care about. I want to know, how can we better help to support you? So please feel free to write in. As I said, if you ask a question, if it's something I know, I'll be happy to share the information that I have, or I will be happy to pass it on to another expert that we have. Thrilled to be here with you. Okay, so we are making a return to our jargon of the day. It is time for jargon of the day. There it is. And this is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out, what in the hey nani are those experts talking about? You know, sometimes the jargon can just about, sink the battleship, right? And I know for me, there were many times that I would lean across the table to people and say, can you just use words that I would understand if I don't have a higher degree in psychology, right? Can you just tell me in plain language what it is that you're talking about? I will tell you that about 2 years into my son's autism intervention, I kind of went to the dark side, because I began to learn and understand the terms, and I started to use them because it makes things faster. This is why any expert in any field uses jargon, to make things clear faster. So it became clear to me that I needed to learn these terms and understand them. But here's my asterisk. Understanding it has to save you time. If it doesn't save you time, what's the point in taking the time to learn it, right? I love today's jargon term, because this does have the ability to not only change and save you time, but it can change and save you heartache and it can help you to up the communication between you and the person that you love on the autism spectrum. So the term, and by the way, we like to give you first the actual definition, then we give you a working definition. By the way, I like to make fun of the actual definition whenever possible, because sometimes the actual definition is redonkulous with more jargon. So here we go. Let's start with the actual definition for antecedent intervention. I'm rolling up my sleeves. An intervention aimed at changing behavior that manipulates antecedent events such as instructions, prompts, or environmental conditions. And ladies and gentlemen, this is why we do Jargon of the Day. Because if I don't know what an antecedent is, then I don't know how to manipulate an antecedent. Hello? If I don't know, I'm looking at, I know probably the word intervention, so antecedent is the word in question, and some brilliant human decided I'll put that word back into the definition to make it just as clear as mud. Just saying, not helpful, right? So what do we do with these actual definitions? Sometimes we laugh at them, poke fun at them, and then we put them in the circular file and we move on. We might come back to this, though, to see if we can help to figure out once we understand what an antecedent is. So let's move on to our working definition, but I may ask you to go back, Chris. So working definition, changing what happens before the behavior in an effort to change the need for the behavior. Wait a second. I might understand this, but if I don't, what are we really talking about here? So we always talk about the ABCs of behavior. A, antecedent, B, behavior, C, consequence, right? You and I and every living thing on this planet, we engage in this 3-term contingency every day over and over and over again. A, B, C. Antecedent, which means something happens before. Ante, before. What happened right before? So something happens, there is a behavior, and then there is a consequence for the behavior, over and over and over. And the example I always like to use is that every day you're sitting in a room and at some point it's dark, right? And like the light starts to get dim. It's earlier now, right? The light starts to get dim and you can't see, so what do? Sometimes even subconsciously, you get up, you go over, and you flick the light switch. That's the behavior, getting up and going over, flicking the light switch, and the consequence is light floods the room. And this 3-term contingency works for you, so you do it again and again and again. You do it every day, and sometimes you do it multiple times a day. Sometimes you do it just walking into a room because it works for you, right? So this is a behavior that becomes a pattern for us, and behaviors that work for us do become a pattern. Okay, now back up for a second and think about babies. Babies are born and they come out and they don't have the ability to communicate on day one. No baby comes out speaking. So how do they communicate to you what it is that they want and they need? They cry, they fuss. Right? And some people listen really carefully and they can tell the difference in the cry of a baby who needs to be changed and a baby who needs to be held and a baby who needs to be fed. Right? I never got good at that. I couldn't tell the difference in my own baby for that, but some people can. Yippee. But the thing is that in what we would like to see in development is that the child gets a little bit older and they're exposed to language, and eventually they start to learn from just listening, just picking up. It's a miracle how they pick up this language and it goes into their brain and it sorts itself out, and they start to make attempts to use that language to tell you what they want. It's very frustrating for them because they're not proficient at it. Think about the last time you tried to learn something and do it and you weren't proficient at it. Yesterday, me in a Zoom call doing a PowerPoint, it was a massive mess. I thought I was proficient at it, I hadn't done it in a while. But it's frustrating when we're not proficient at something, right? And it makes us upset and frustrated. In typically developing kids, typically developing in the air quotes, we call this the terrible twos because they're frustrated because they can't get their needs met and they're used to crying. Now, if you are not miraculously soaking up the language that is around you, which is our kids on the autism spectrum, where does that leave you? You're in a world where you have needs and you're growing up and you have things that you want, but you do not have the language and you haven't learned that language is the way to get it. So you are constantly in a state of frustration. And we will see that a lot of kids, the behaviors that we call the challenging behaviors, that are the behaviors that are so frustrating to you and to people around the child, right? And frustrating for the child, are coming because they are not able to do a behavior that's effective. So what do they resort back to? The last thing that worked, which is crying, right? Crying and fussing and whining, because as a baby, it worked. So what we want to do with a 3-term contingency is we want to look at what do we have control over here. And a lot of times as parents, we think we have control over behavior. This is a fallacy. You don't really have control over somebody's behavior. Did I just blow your mind? Think about it, because if somebody is doing something, if somebody is hitting a wall, right, you can say to them, stop, but does that mean that they're gonna stop? No. Right? And with our children, if our children, I can remember my son doing something and my mom saying, make him stop. And I was like, how? Like, he is wanting to do that. How would I make him stop? Right? You can't just tape a kid to the wall. That's inappropriate, right? They're going to do what they want to do. Here's the thing though, is that we don't have control over behavior, but we have control over antecedents, the thing that happens before, and consequences. So when you're going to school and you're getting a behavior intervention plan, what I want to see in a behavior intervention plan that tells me it's a really good behavior intervention plan is it will tell me what the function of the behavior is, what was the child seeking with the behavior, and then it's going to give me this, an antecedent intervention. And hopefully it's also going to give me a consequence intervention, and it's going to give me what it is that it's going to teach the child so that they are able to get their need met without having to engage in the behavior. Those are the things that you have control over. Antecedent intervention is powerful because when I look at what was happening, if it's a challenging behavior, what was happening before that the child needs to go to great lengths to engage in a behavior that's challenging in order to get the need met. Well, what if I can anticipate the need? For a lot of you, your kids will do things because they're bored. I always tell the story of being at the doctor's office, and there was a guy who was sitting there with his 2 kids. They were like 5 and 6. And he's in the waiting room and he's got his phone. So what's he doing? He's scrolling on his phone. He's doing whatever on his phone. And what are his kids doing? His kids are sitting there losing their minds because they're bored. They got nothing to do. Nobody wants to be bored. And dad's on his phone. And they're trying to, get over and look on his phone and whatever. And dad's like, I'm on my phone. Like, go sit over there. Not realizing as a parent, I got to keep them entertained to some level or they're going to entertain themselves. And that may or may not be good, right? Some kids can entertain themselves and we can teach them how to entertain themselves, but that's kind of an advanced skill. So an antecedent intervention for this dad, because eventually his kids, they were jumping off the chairs and they got yelled at by one of the nurses and dad was shamed and then he's yelling at them. It was a massive mess, right? And by the way, these weren't kids on the spectrum. They had the ability to communicate and understand communication, and they were still bored. This antecedent intervention works with everyone, not just people on the spectrum, not just kids, not just adults, right? But what dad could have done, and think about this for your own kids, is set something up so that the child doesn't have the opportunity to be bored, right? My mom made a zipper bag for me that I took everywhere with me that had my son's little wind-up toys, and there was some, putty in there, a little egg with putty, and there were like 5 or 6 little toys in that bag. So we would go into the doctor's office, and I wouldn't just give him all of them, right? Because then where do you go from there? So I would unzip one little portion of it, and I would take out one wind-up toy, and I would wind it up and put it there. Then he would wind it up. That would take like 2 minutes. Then he'd give me back that toy. We put it away. I pull out another one, element of surprise. My child didn't have the opportunity to get bored. That is an antecedent intervention. So changing what happens before the behavior in an effort to change the need for the behavior. Because he wasn't bored, he didn't need to engage in a behavior. Knowing that now, can we go back, Chris, and look at the actual definition and see if we can make heads or tails of it? An intervention aimed at changing behavior that manipulates antecedent events. Now we know that what an antecedent is what happens before. They're going to change what's happening before, such as instructions, prompts, or environmental conditions. Those are three great examples that, instead of somebody, doing something, we're going to give them an instruction. That's an antecedent intervention. We're going to say, in a second, we're all going to line up to go out to the playground, right? Instead of just saying, go to the playground and it's a mess, right? We're going to give prompts like, we're going to leave in 5 minutes. You have to get out of the pool in 5 minutes, right? You have to get out of the pool in 4 minutes, give the countdown. That's an antecedent intervention. They're very effective. Very, very, very effective at reducing challenging behavior. So it is something that can save a lot of time. I'm saying hola to Alicia. I'm so glad you're here. And you got a blue heart. I love that. Uma, I'm so happy that you're here from Pakistan as well, because you're going to love our guests. So there's antecedent intervention. I hope that it's something that you'll ask more questions about, but if somebody is especially on that BIP for school, I have seen so many BIPs recently that make me want to light my hair on fire because, I sit down and I look at that document, and the first thing I'm going to do is scan it for those essential pieces. I need to see the function of the behavior. What's the kid trying to do? What's the antecedent intervention? What's the consequence strategy? And what are we going to teach the child? If I cannot easily find those four things, then I'm not convinced it's a good BIP. And if I have to, really dig to find them or they're not there, then it is not a good BIP. That is how we change behavior. And that's how we keep it fair. Anything short of that, send it back and tell them, ask them for those four things. What's the function of the behavior? What's the antecedent intervention? What's the consequence strategy? And what are we teaching my child so that they can better implement the antecedent and the consequence? Just ask them that. And if they don't know, it's time for them to bring somebody new in. Just saying. Okay. We're saying hello to Catalina from Romania. Fantastic. We're saying good morning to Susie and to Ma. It has been a while. So great that you are here with us. Okay. We've got two amazing guests that are going to be joining us. We've got Anthony Vasquez, he's almost a regular now here on the show. He's such a delightful person. He is a very talented musician and part of the Spec Labs core of artists. And he asked if he could bring his friend Caroline Corry, who is a very talented musician and an actress. And we've got so much to talk about with them, about what they've been doing and what they're up to and what they have coming up. So it's time to welcome them. There's Anthony. Anthony's so thrilled to have you here. And I can see Caroline's up there too. Caroline, so thrilled to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
Look at how great you guys look. Okay, so let's talk first. Anthony, I'm going to ask you a question first, and then Caroline, I'm going to come to you. I love that I asked you guys, how would you like to be introduced? And both of you talked about what kinds of activities that you're involved in. And recently, when I was with Dr. Temple Grandin, the question was asked of her. I was with Temple Grandin and the actor Kobe Bird. And the question was asked, how does she feel about person-first language? And she said, for me, it's all about a career. Like she said, I identify as a teacher and a scientist and an author. She said, those are the words that I want used to describe me. And we all thought that that was amazing. And Kobe Bird said, yes, I identify as an actor. That's who I am. I'm Kobe Bird, the actor. So I loved that both of you, independent of each other, responded that way as well. That you identified Anthony as being a musician. And Caroline, you identified as being an actress and a musician. So I love and just want to spread that I think that's how a lot of us would like to be identified. Anthony, I want to come to you first. Tell us a little bit about what you have been doing with, and we'll bring Caroline into this conversation too, but let's talk about the musician first of all. What kinds of instruments are you playing? What makes you a musician, I guess is the question I want to ask.
What makes me a musician, yes, is I'm not playing in any instrument in Spec Band 1. Other kids are.
Okay, so but are you singing? Is that what you mean by musician? How are you making music?
Yeah, I'm just a singer.
Okay.
And Garth Herberg, as you probably know, he is the head of the music department. And the way I've been making music with him is just singing the songs he's been giving to me. And him helping me out, getting better with the songs and doing very well with them in the rehearsals and performances.
Well, I knew that you were a singer, but I was thinking that you had taken up an instrument too. But your instrument really is your voice, correct?
That's correct. And I also have my karaoke machine, as I mentioned before. Remember that?
Yes, I do. I sometime I would love to. I want to have a karaoke night. We should have a karaoke night. I love to do karaoke. It would be fun to be someplace where you're doing karaoke. I don't think people appreciate it when I sing, but I like to sing anyway. But my understanding, Caroline, is that for the first time you did Spec Band 1. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I really loved it. I think Spec-O-Ween was this year's Spec-O-Ween was one of the best nights of my life. I keep saying that I'm never gonna forget it. And it was just such an amazing opportunity to perform on stage. We played a lot of spooky Halloween songs. We did Psycho Killer by Talking Heads. We did Feed My Frankenstein by Alice Cooper. We did Spooky by Lydia Lunch, and we did Time Warp from Rocky Horror. It was great.
And now, are you also a singer with the band, or are you playing an instrument as well?
I was a singer this round, yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. And Anthony, for people who don't know, can you tell them a little bit about what Spec Labs is and how you came to find Spec Labs?
Yes. So Spec Labs first opened up in January of 2015. It was created and formed and opened by Jason Weisbrod and Garth Herberg. And when it first started, they had 6 students in a regular music and film and acting class. And that's how I heard, and that's how it started. And the way I came to be it is, like I said, Luke Rose recommended to me. And I heard it also from singer Chelsea Cathcart as well. And for people who are interested in joining Spec Labs, their website is www.speclabs.org. And if they go there, they can find classes like film and acting, music, voiceover acting, and mindfulness with yoga and meditation. And I don't know much about animation, but that's done by the wonderful Danny Bowman that we all truly enjoy.
Yeah, Danny is amazing, isn't she?
Yeah.
The work that she does is really incredible. So, Anthony, how old were you when you started with Spec Labs?
I was 27 years old when I started Spec Labs last year. I just turned 28.
Okay, so I didn't realize it was that recent that you started. I thought you'd been doing Spec Labs for a really long time. But Luke Rose, who we absolutely love, he was the person who said to you, boy, you should really get involved in this. And not only, I want to ask you, Anthony, because we focus a lot on Spec Labs about the creative work that they do. But the thing that I'm always noticing is the friendships and the bonds and the social it's like a web of friends and social contacts that you guys seem to make at Spec Labs. Am I right about that? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, so bonds and connections of us friendships at Spec Labs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you made more
um,
friends there?
I have made more friends there, a lot of friends.
And maybe because I think sometimes people don't understand like how important that could be when you're 27, 28 years old to find friends and have that web around you. Is it something that you found to be stress reducing or just supportive?
Supportive because everybody here at Spec Labs, including the staff, are pretty sweet and supportive and kind to each other.
Yeah, that's evident in all the work that you guys do. So Caroline, how did you find Spec Labs?
Well, I joined it like back when when we were at the old space. It was like on Van Nuys and Oxnard Street.
Yes.
I was back at like that old music spot. I think it used to be called the music spot. But I like in the beginning when I joined, I was in like I started doing the improv classes with like Jason and Garth, and at the time there was a another staff named Jeff there, and he was like the camera guy person, and I also did voiceover back then with Kathy McCauley as well. But I've been part of Spec Labs now, like since I want to say like I probably started in I want to say like 2018, 2019, maybe even 2017.
Okay, so it's been a while.
But I've been with them for a while now, and I usually have just been like doing the voiceover stuff, and the acting classes they do. But this year was my first time doing the Spec Band 1, and as I've been saying, I'm definitely gonna do Spec Band again for the second round when the band classes start back up again, because it was just so amazing.
Well,
and I love working with Garth and Jason, and I love performing on stage, and I love all the Spec Labs friendships I've made. It's just amazing. I call them my second family, because that's really who they are to me.
I gotta say, Caroline, you have a wonderful voice for animation too.
Thank you.
You really do. I love hearing about this, and I love hearing about the friendships. But you mentioned something, Caroline, that I really want to talk about. You guys just both participated in an event. It seems like that Spec Labs is constantly coming up with ways to showcase the talent that they've uncovered. And was this was the second, or was this were there more Spec-Oweens and I didn't hear about it until last year? Is this a regular thing or a relatively new thing?
I'll answer that.
Okay.
Well, for me, I've only been in Spec Labs now for 2 years, so the best answer I can give to you, since I've started, this is the second Spec-Oween since I've been there. Last year was the first one I had with them.
Yeah. Well, and I hear about this event, and I hear that it is like the event, that it's so much fun and it's a ridiculous amount of fun. It is unfortunate for me that last year we started doing the All Ghouls Gala, and both years we've done the All Ghouls Gala on the Saturday before Halloween, and you guys have done Spec-Oween on the Sunday before Halloween. So you're a day after us, and I'm devastated and exhausted and can't get it together to come. And then I always have that FOMO afterwards because I hear that it's so great. So we heard a little bit from Caroline about that it was the best night of her life, which I think that's the best thing you could say about something, Caroline. How was it for you, Anthony, and what were you doing during Spec-Oween this year?
Yes. So this is one of the topics I want to get into now with you and Caroline.
Okay. All right, let's do it.
All right. So it was very good for me. I really loved it too. Like Caroline, it was one of the best nights of my life as well. So Caroline and I performed at the Barnesdall Gallery Theater in downtown LA. And there, like she said, we sang Psycho Killer, Feed My Frankenstein, Spooky, and Time Warp. I really loved Feed My Frankenstein because that's my second favorite Halloween song. And get this, for the first time ever in my life, actor Tom Kenny was there and his band High Seas to perform with us.
They're amazing. And if people don't know, tell them how they might know Tom Kenny. He's very famous.
Tom Kenny, yes. He is the voice actor of the little talking sponge, SpongeBob SquarePants from the SpongeBob series.
Yeah.
Yep. And he knows Garth Herbert, Jason Weisbrod, and Spectrum Laboratory. I think if I remember correctly, Garth and Jason keep in touch with him.
Yes.
Yep.
I've been to other concerts where his band came and played with Spec Labs. I didn't realize what a talented singer, and he has sort of a big band kind of swing, kind of jive feel, as I recall. It was really good music, and he's a wild and crazy guy, so he's just having fun, but really talented. So was it great to perform with him?
It was great to perform with Tom Kenny there. Yeah, he actually got to perform as well. And that also, Garth provided us with a pizza dinner, which we really enjoyed as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Did I hear that he's a really nice guy? Caroline, did you think that Tom Kenny was super nice?
Yeah, it was actually my second time meeting him, because back at the old Spec Labs place that was on Van Nuys and Oxnard, we were working on this voiceover gig for this other short film that Spec Labs done in the past called Boys Don't Wear Dresses. It's the LGBT BQ version of the Cinderella story kind of. And Tom Kenny actually came and helped us do some voiceover stuff for that short film. And I was able to meet him on that day because I was also helping and giving my voice during that day. So that was the first time I met Tom Kenny. And then just during this Specoween was my second time. And yeah, Tom Kenny is just amazing. He's really nice. He uses his voice a lot. He's great. He's just
does he love your voice?
A really fun guy.
Does he love your voice, Caroline? Because you do have a very distinctive voiceover voice.
I think he does. He said because this time at Specoween, I kind of was reminding him hey, do you remember me? I helped with the Boys Don't Wear Dresses voiceover parts at the old Spec Labs spot. And then he was like, yeah, I totally remember you. You were great during that. It's great to see you again. I remember you did a really good, your voice was really amazing. And
it is amazing. I didn't realize that you had voiced some of the things in that film. We've talked about that film many times on the show. It's an award-winning film, an amazing short, just incredible work. Which voices did you do in the film, Caroline?
Well, I think I was the background, I think my voice might have been used in some of the background characters,
Very cool.
The birds, or I remember they said we can do it. And so I remember doing that, and maybe I think there was an alpaca, if I remember correctly, kind of chewing his an alpaca chewing his food or something. I remember because the Spec Labs did a post on the exact day that we were doing the little voiceover workshop with Tom Kenny for Boys Don't Wear Dresses. You'll actually see me in some of the recording some of the stuff.
That's very cool. Very, very cool. Amazing, you guys. So Specoween, I imagine since it's so awesome, they're going to do it again next year.
Oh yeah, hopefully. I want to do it again. I'm it was awesome. it was so awesome, including like there were lots of emails back and forth, but like it was just because sometimes Spec Labs has to send out emails like about the actual event and stuff, and sometimes there ends up being a lot of email chains, but it's still really fun, like the communication and the actual events, and it's like family, like I said before.
I love
That's
it.
right. What I also want to add about
Yeah.
Speckoween show is it was my first time meeting Tom Kenny ever. And onto the costumes, I dressed up as Mario character Luigi, the one in green.
I love that. Is if it's the one in green, isn't that Luigi or is that still Mario?
That's Luigi.
Okay, so amazing. Luigi's my favorite. I love that. Was everybody in costume?
I'm sorry?
Was everybody in the show in costume?
Yeah, it was like a costume performance. Caroline, what were you dressed up for Halloween this year in the show?
I was a female punk rocker.
Okay.
I felt it was very appropriate for the night, like because I just felt like, I mean, punk rockers, they're awesome. Like, why not?
Indeed.
So I dressed up as a female punk rocker. I had like the whole like fishnet tight things, and I had like a vest, and I had like chains, and I had like a skull shirt, and I put on like dark lipstick, and like I had like Ann Postawait. She's another Spec Labs student who helps out in the filming class and who also did the music in the past with Garth, but she's also very good at makeup, so she did my makeup. And so big shout out to Anne. So it was my makeup, I think it was like we did like a little bit of like orange stuff since it was like for Halloween kind of. And it was just really fun, and we were dancing on stage. It was awesome. It was like one of the best nights ever.
I love hearing that. I want to give a shout out to Anne also, because the night before at All Ghouls Gala, we did this last year too, we hired 4 of the Spec Labs actors to come and be atmospheric actors, and Anne did that for us both years. She was awesome both years, and she is incredibly good at makeup. And a very talented young woman. So, Anthony, was there anything else you wanted to share about Speckoween?
Yes. So before we move on to our experiences being in the band, I also want to add for Speckoween that one of the things I really like doing for all 4 songs was, a little bit of spooky was the choreography dance moves that we did on stage together. I'll show it to you.
Okay.
Meet my friend Igor. Run your greasy fingers up your greasy spine, and that really made the show more entertainment, since for Summer of Spec, that's how I got used to doing choreography for the performances I've been doing.
So it's not just singing, there's a little bit of choreography involved too.
Yeah, even though it was not a class thing, I decided to do that because I wanted to make the audience be more entertained.
Okay.
All right. So that's Speckoween. Now we're on to the experiences of how Caroline and I did Spec Band 1 together.
Yes.
The rehearsals and the songs.
Okay, what do you want to say about that?
Yeah. So, as you know, every round, the music classes always have rehearsals on a stage in North Hollywood, as always. But before we get to that, Caroline and I, we first started Spec Bands 1 together at another studio in North Hollywood for the first 3 weeks. And then after that, we went down the street to another studio where they had a big space for us available to use to practice for our concerts and our rehearsals. And there we got our lines assigned by Garth Herbert, who you know is the head of the music department. We got our line assigned for the 4 songs that we mentioned, and we sang our choruses, our verses, and we backed each other up. And we sang, and one person for Psycho Killer sang a bridge, but it was in French from Psycho Killer. And
The
that we
qu'est-ce que
also
c'est?
then we just every week we just performed our lines in rehearsals, and we just got better at it.
Amazing. That's the part of Psycho Killer where they go qu'est-ce que c'est?
Yeah.
Yeah, and fa 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 better too.
Love that song. Wonderful. And so, Caroline, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so the studio, well, there's 2 studios we did it. The rehearsals, we did it at Fever in North Hollywood, and then we also did it at Amp Rehearsal, which is also in the same area. But Fever is also where I go on Saturdays to do my voiceover class with Spec Labs. So I do, so I got to, so it was like, it was kind of, I was used to going to Fever a lot. And actually I did Summer of Spec as well back in the summer with Anthony as well. And during that time we were also rehearsing at Amp. So I was used to like both recording places. But yeah, it was just a great performance. And as Anthony said, we rehearse a lot. And I think we pretty much all killed it on stage. It was, yeah, I really loved, like, we had a lot of staff and people helping us. Like Joey Isabel, she's awesome. She was like helping us backstage and stuff. And she's also going to be helping out in the upcoming Christmas Specmas Carol show that I'm going to be part of.
And now, go ahead, finish.
With the puppets, and that's going to be coming up in December, which I'm really excited for. It's like show after show with Spec Labs, you know?
That's
First Specoween, it was great, and now a Christmas one. It's like the work never stops, but it's amazing. It's great.
I love this.
Yeah, just going back and forth doing different events with Spec Labs. And then I have this weekend, I'm actually going to go see one of the short films that I previously made with Spec Labs in our short film class called Hands. It was like a short film that we recently did with Spec Labs, and it was me and my friend Shane McCaskill doing like acting with our hands, and that's going to be showing at LA Live this Saturday, which I'm also going to after voiceover. So I'm excited about that. But
and what I hear in that is that you've got this rich artist life, that you guys are going to different places to do the music, having that experience of being in professional spaces, doing the music, having these professional gigs with staff. And I love hearing all of this. Now, I want to make sure, though, Anthony, because at some point I want to talk about the Specma Christmas. I'm not sure I'm getting it wrong. But do you want to talk any more about Band One, or should we move on to that?
Yeah. Well, just briefly about Band One before Specmas Carol. So Band One was a pretty exciting time of the year of this round, because it ended early because of Specmas Carol, which is ending in December. And before we move on to the Specmas Carol that we're going to talk about with Caroline, was there any way, Shannon, that Spec Lab's website was shown to the viewers publicly?
We absolutely can do that now. Do you want to tell them about it a little bit, what the website is?
Yeah, I'll say it again. So viewers, if you guys are interested of having your kids join Spec Labs, it is www.speclabs.org. And that's what I wanted to share. Now,
And I appreciate that, Anthony. I want to make sure that everybody knows this is not a paid advertisement, and you were not asked to promote it. You reached out to me and said, I'd like to give people an update on what I've been doing. But I do think that you guys are the best commercial for the program because we see the joy it gives you and how much interaction you're having and how much you're learning from it. That's amazing. And I know we've had Jason and Garth on the show many times. I just adore them. They're doing amazing work, and you guys are so talented that it adds up to a lot of things. So now, what is it that we're calling the Christmas show? Speckmas Carol?
A Speckmas Carol, yeah.
It's a Speckmas Carols will be shared mainly by Caroline because I don't know much about it except for the performance is coming up soon.
Okay. So you're not involved with that. You're just going to go see the performance.
Yeah, most likely I'll be a supporter because I was able to take one class this round.
Okay. So Caroline, tell us what's it all about?
So it's kind of like a more updated, more like it like a more updated, more recent telling of A Christmas Carol. It's more in this time period and not like as much of in the olden days. But it's gonna be told. We're gonna be using puppets.
I love puppets. You're talking my jam here.
We're gonna be using puppets. We just started practicing last weekend, actually using our puppets that we're going to be using in the show, just to get more acquainted to the feeling of how we're going to be acting as real actors, and then also using our puppets. It's like two jobs, but I think we're being taught by the amazing Kathy McCauley and Garth Herberg, and Liv Brazil. She's also helping out in this play. It's gonna be really great, and I actually have a rehearsal on Saturday and this Sunday for it. And on Sunday's rehearsal, we're going to be going to Live Art to do a rehearsal, which is it's on Weddington Street. It's actually just 3 or 4 minutes away from Fever. It's right down the street. And Live is actually where we also had rehearsals for Summer of Spec as well. But A Christmas Carol is going to be, a Speckmas Carol is going to be amazing. And
if you don't mind me asking, when are the performances, Caroline?
It's going to be December 10th. It's going to be two performances.
Okay.
One is going to be at 6, I believe. And then the other one is going to be later at night. I actually have the info for it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's we have one show starting at 6:15 and then another show starting at 8:30.
Okay.
And both of them are on December 10th. Yeah.
And where will it be?
It's gonna be at Theater 68 Arts Complex.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah, Lancashire.
Yeah, I love that theater.
Yeah, it's going to be at that theater, and I'm really stoked. And the tickets just went on live on the Spec Labs website. And if you buy them early in the month of November, then you get, I think it's $25. I think you can get them for a little bit less expensive than if you get them in December or something.
Okay.
Kathy let me know that they're like, if you get them in early in November, then there's like then you get then they're a little bit less expensive than if you decide to get them like in December.
Like an early bird discount. I love that.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
exactly.
Okay, we've only got a couple of more minutes left. So what have we not covered? Do you want to talk about what classes you're going to take in the spring, Anthony? What would you like to cover?
Yes. So before we talk about the classes, I'm glad you brought it up, Shannon. As I saw online today of the Specmas Carol tickets, there are 70 tickets, so it's limited amount of tickets.
Yeah, these things sell out. This is my problem always, Anthony, is I kind of wait and then I go to get tickets and it's sold out. So I'm glad you brought that up because people need to know if you want to go and see these shows, and they're so much fun. They are a ridiculous amount of fun. It's like seeing a really talented group of people get up on stage and have a party, and it's a really fun time. But if you want to go, you probably need to get those early bird tickets because I'm going to guess it's going to sell out both shows. I'm glad you guys are doing 2 shows because for like Summer of Spec, which you both have referenced, and I think, Caroline, you're wearing the T-shirt from it, I went to go get tickets the week of and it was sold out. Oh, you're wearing it too, Anthony. Okay.
Yeah, we're twins.
I see that. It's like Vulcan mind melt. I love it. Okay, so people should get the tickets. All right, now should we talk about the classes? Because now you got about a minute and a half.
Yes. Yeah, so I'll share with people who are interested in joining Spec Labs, and specifically future students and the viewers who are watching us. All right, viewers of Autism Live and future students. If you go onto their website, which I mentioned before, you go click on classes, and we have classes from film and acting, which is by Jason Weisbrod, music, which is Garth Herberg, voiceover acting, which is by Kathy McCauley, and mindfulness with yoga meditation, which is both by instructors Jason Weisbrod and Jolina. I'm going to let you guys figure out how animation works, except for, like I said, it's with Danny Bowman, who we all truly enjoy. If you're also interested getting in contact with them, Spec Labs, so hopefully they can take you in. You can email them at thespectrumlaboratory@gmail.com. Is there any way we can show it, Shannon?
We'll see if Chris can put in thespectrumlaboratory.com, correct?
thespectrumlaboratory@gmail.com.
At gmail.com. Wonderful. thespectrumlaboratory@gmail.com. And we'll see if Chris has time to put that up on the screen. But so what classes are you going to take this spring, Anthony? Have you decided?
Coming up, not officially, but like Caroline has mentioned, I'm also planning to join Spec Band 1 with Garth Herberg. And also, there's also Spec Bands 2 for other people who want to join it too, like Dominique Brown, you know him, and also Atticus Baldwin. Have they both been on the show before?
They have indeed. Both. There it is. There's your thespectrumlaboratory@gmail.com. Thank you, Chris. Wonderful. Can you see it, Anthony? It's there on the screen.
No, I can't see it because I think your screen is off.
Oh, well, it's there. It's on the screen. Wonderful. So you're still deciding, but you're definitely going to take Spec Band 1?
Yeah, I'm definitely. I'm still deciding, and I'm definitely gonna take Spec Bands 1. Yes, classes. In music, which is Garth Herberg is really good with.
And Caroline, do you know what classes you're going to take in the spring?
Definitely Spec Band 1. I want to continue along my journey with music and my friendships, like with Anthony again, and I want to do and I want to perform again, and especially with my love for music. And I love Garth at Spec Labs. He's one of my favorite Spec Labs mentors / teachers. He's one of my all-time favorites. He's really great, and it's just a great it's a whole great group, and I'm definitely also still gonna continue with the voiceover and maybe do an acting one. I have to see what times they're gonna be, because I also have other stuff that I'm involved with, so I have
busy
to
artist.
Look at those times.
That's correct. I can't tell you how much fun it has been to have this check-in with you guys and hear about the kind of things that you're doing. I hope that people who are watching hear the joy that as you talk about your work and about these classes, because I think we all want that in our lives, right? We all want to have that happy, purposeful thing that we're going and doing. And I'm so glad, first of all, that you guys found friendship in each other and found friendship in your co-artists, and that you're learning all kinds of things. It just, that's what being young should be about. So I'm really happy that we had this time to talk with you guys. And unfortunately, we have to sign off, but thank you so much. And I want to shout out to Anthony because, Anthony, you do a very good job of staying in touch with me and updating me and asking to be on the show. And I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you too, Shannon. You're welcome. A big shout out for you too.
I got to come to Smart and Final. I keep coming to your Smart and Final, and I'm never there when you're there. But sometime I'm going to catch you at work.
Yes.
All right. You both take care, okay? Thanks for being on.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you so much.
Caroline, call me. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Bye, you guys. I also
Bye.
I want to say we need to sign off, but I want to remind you guys of a couple of things. First of all, tomorrow night on Hallmark, I believe it's 7 p.m. I want to say that it's 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm not sure. Check your local listing. But on the Hallmark Channel, they are debuting one of their new Christmas movies, which is called A World Record Christmas. And the main storyline is that there's a boy who is on the spectrum who wants to become a Guinness Book World Record holder for stacking blocks on top of a single block. And the interaction between him and his parents, the ads for it look amazing. Please support this film. Please let Hallmark know how much it means to you that they're having representation in their Christmas movies, and authentic representation. As far as I know, the young man playing the young man on the spectrum is in fact on the spectrum. So we love that. Does it get better, you guys? A Hallmark Christmas movie about autism with authentic representation. Stop. I'm all the way in. Please, I hope that you are too. Show them some love. That's how we show people, look, you're including our kids and we want you to keep doing it. Show them some love. Also want to say that our toy guide, the 2023 Autism Live Toy and Gift Guide, is going to be live on Friday. And then on Monday, we start the Festival of Toys. And on Monday and Tuesday, which are the only live shows we're doing next week, we're doing Cavalcade of Toys, where I'm just going to be live demoing toys. You know, if you've watched it before, it gets chaotic. It's like I'm covered in toys. It's so much fun. Please don't miss that. Be with us on Monday and Tuesday. And then we are going to be taking off the rest of the week to celebrate Thanksgiving here in the United States. And I'll let you know more about that. Sometimes we do a marathon of old videos that you guys can watch during the weekend. I don't know. We haven't figured that out yet. Things to be, we've been busy with Toy Guide, you know what I'm saying? But so thrilled to have had this show with you guys. Thanks to Chris Desmond, thanks to all of you, and to our wonderful guests, Anthony Vasquez and Caroline Corry. We're going to be back on Monday with toys, and we'll also try to give you a brief Hallmark movie review as well. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time.